So you walk into an open house on a Sunday afternoon, right? And the emotional gravity of it just pulls you right in.
Oh, absolutely.
The walls are painted this perfect, calming shade of slate gray. The kitchen has those,
Those gleaming quartz countertops.
yeah, the ones that catch the light perfectly. And the whole neighborhood just has this incredible, welcoming
It's
energy.
intoxicating.
It really is. I mean, it's almost impossible not to fall in love and start picturing your life there. But here is the brutal reality.
Right.
When you transition from being a home buyer to being a real estate investor, that exact same emotional gravity will bankrupt you.
100%.
Falling in love with, like, the paint color or the curb appeal, that's a luxury that people looking for a forever home get to enjoy. But for an investor, it's a massive liability.
Because the entire traditional real estate industry is engineered to trigger that exact emotional response. They want you staging furniture in your mind. But when you buy an investment property, you aren't actually purchasing granite countertops or beautiful landscaping. You're purchasing an income stream.
Yes.
Or, well, at least your primary focus should be acquiring a reliable income stream.
And that mindset shift is exactly what we're unpacking today. So welcome to today's deep dive.
Glad to be here.
We're breaking down a highly practical, genuinely eye-opening realtor's playbook on how to buy a multifamily property. So we're talking duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes, and how to do it without getting completely burned.
Which happens a lot.
It happens all the time. So the mission today is to shift the lens, because most people who want to build wealth in real estate, they end up accidentally buying themselves this highly stressful part-time job instead of a strong asset.
Yeah, they buy based on the dream.
Exactly. So we're going to explore how to stop buying bedrooms and start buying businesses. And, how to prove a deal actually works on paper before you ever sit down to sign the closing documents.
Well, to really understand this playbook, we have to look at what most beginners do first.
Right, the default move.
Yeah, the standard advice you hear at dinner parties or read online is to just go out and buy a single-family rental house.
Just a regular house.
Right. You find a nice 3-bedroom house in a decent suburb, you place a tenant in it, and suddenly, boom, you're a real estate investor.
Magic.
And I mean, the author of our source material acknowledges that people do make money this way, but they heavily caution against it for anyone who's just starting out.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the structural risk baked into that single-family model is, well, it's kind of terrifying when you think about it.
It really is.
If you own one single-family rental house, your income is entirely binary. It's either a 1 or a 0.
Yeah.
You either have a tenant paying rent or the house sits empty. And the moment that tenant moves out, your revenue immediately plummets to 0.
But the mortgage company doesn't care if it's empty.
No, they definitely do not.
For property taxes, don't.
The insurance premiums are still due.
Exactly. The expenses run on this relentless clock while your income is suddenly just non-existent. The spread of risk there is incredibly narrow.
It's like riding a unicycle. I mean,
Wow.
you only have that one tire between you and the pavement. If you hit a nail and blow that tire, you are instantly flat on the ground.
Right.
The ride is completely over until you patch it. But when you look at a multifamily property, say a fourplex, it's like driving a four-wheeler.
I love that analogy.
You can hit a pothole, blow out one tire, and you'll definitely feel the bump, you know?
Yeah.
But the other 3 tires are still fully inflated. You can still limp your way forward without totally wiping out.
What's fascinating here is how that visual captures the financial reality perfectly. I mean, with a fourplex, you still only have one roof to maintain.
Right.
You have one lawn to mow, one property tax bill to manage, and one overall structure to insure.
Yep.
But under that single roof, you have 4 entirely separate income streams.
Which changes everything.
It does. A vacancy in Unit B is painful, sure, but Units A, C, and D are still covering the mortgage. That distribution of risk is basically the difference between an investment that keeps you awake at night and an asset that behaves like a stable, predictable business.
And beyond just sleeping better at night, it seems like the sheer friction of growing a portfolio is totally different, too.
Oh, yeah. The scalability.
Right. Like, if your goal over the next 5 years is to own 4 rental units, you could theoretically go out and buy 4 separate single-family houses.
You could.
But think about the administrative nightmare of doing that.
It's brutal.
You'd have to hunt for 4 different deals, negotiate 4 separate purchase contracts, pay for 4 structural inspections.
And sweat through 4 entirely distinct bank underwriting processes.
Yes. You're paying 4 sets of closing costs and managing 4 different roofs across town from each other.
Or, you could just buy one fourplex.
Exactly.
You go through the agonizing process of bank financing just once, you negotiate one time, you pay for one overarching inspection.
Right.
So you're doing all the heavy lifting of purchasing a single time, but you're acquiring the yield of 4 separate properties. It's essentially a way of compressing time and effort.
And the playbook highlights a really specific sweet spot for beginners here, too. They call it the owner-occupant lane.
Yes, the ultimate hack.
So if you're willing to actually live in one of the units of that duplex or fourplex, the entire financial landscape changes in your favor.
It's a massive loophole in real estate financing. Because residential buildings with 1 to 4 units, they're generally treated the same way by mortgage lenders as a regular single-family home.
Which is crazy to think about.
Right. Once you hit 5 units, though, you enter commercial lending territory. And that requires much larger down payments, higher interest rates, shorter loan terms.
It's a totally different ballgame.
It is. But if you stay in that 2 to 4 unit space and just agree to live in one of the units for a year or two, you unlock these government-backed residential loans.
We're talking down payments as low as 3.5% or 5%, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
With 30-year fixed interest rates.
So you get in the door with a fraction of the cash a traditional investor would need. Plus, there's this incredible operational advantage. You are literally living inside your own training ground.
Yeah, you get your hands dirty.
When you share a wall with your tenants, you figure out very quickly how to screen people properly, how to handle late-night maintenance calls without panicking.
And what actually matters in property management.
Right. You learn the mechanics of the business from the inside out.
But, regardless of whether you live in one unit or you're investing purely from the outside, the core challenge remains the same.
Which is what?
Well, if a multifamily property operates like a business, we need a reliable way to read the dashboard of that business. We have to move past the fresh paint and look at the raw accounting.
Okay. Which means we need to talk about cap rate.
Because this is the ultimate reality check metric the playbook leans on, capitalization rate. So if I'm synthesizing this correctly, it's the formula used to measure how efficiently a specific property turns rental income into actual return.
It is the foundational metric of commercial and multifamily real estate. The formula itself is straightforward, actually. It's net operating income, which everyone just calls NOI,
NOI, right.
divided by the purchase price of the property.
Okay, let's pull NOI apart because the author is extremely rigid about what goes into that bucket and what gets left out.
They are. So net operating income is the true profit a property generates before any debt is factored in.
Before debt, got it.
Right. To calculate it, you take all the gross rate you collect over a year and you subtract all your normal recurring operating expenses.
So that means property taxes, the landlord's insurance policy, routine maintenance.
Any utilities you pay out of pocket, the fee you pay a property manager, and a dedicated reserve fund for future big-ticket repairs, like a new roof or a water heater.
But the crucial thing here, and this is the part that feels totally counterintuitive when you first hear it, is that you do not include your monthly mortgage payment in those expenses.
No, you don't. And it trips up almost every new investor.
I mean, it makes sense why it would.
Right, because for most of us, our mortgage is our single largest monthly expense.
Yeah.
It feels insane to ignore it when you're trying to decide if a building is a good investment.
But it makes sense when you think about the property as an independent machine. Like, my mortgage is a reflection of my personal financial situation, right?
Yeah.
Not a reflection of the building's performance.
Exactly.
If I buy a $1 million duplex with a tiny 5% down payment, my monthly loan costs are going to be astronomical.
Oh, yeah.
But if you buy the exact same duplex right next door, but you pay for it in straight cash,
Right.
you have zero debt service.
Right.
So our personal bank accounts will look wildly different at the end of the month, but the duplex itself, the building, the local rental market, the taxes is performing identically.
And that's why cap rate is so important. If we connect this to the bigger picture, cap rate strips away all the noise of your personal financing choices.
It isolates the asset.
It isolates it completely.
Yeah.
It asks a very simple question. If you bought this building in cash today, what would your annual percentage return be based purely on the income it naturally produces?
So if I'm hearing you right, cap rate is basically the miles per gallon or the raw engine efficiency of the investment, assuming I bought it with straight cash. It strips away my personal mortgage details to show me what the property itself is actually doing.
That miles per gallon concept is the perfect way to anchor this.
Right, because it just pops the hood and shows you the engine.
Exactly. A property can have flawless landscaping and incredibly trendy light fixtures and still have a terrible, inefficient engine underneath.
And the cap rate doesn't care if you took out an auto loan to buy the car or if you paid cash. It just tells you how well the engine turns fuel, which is rent, into forward momentum, which is profit.
Cap rate forces you to ignore the cosmetic appeal and evaluate the income stream. It also allows you to compare wildly different properties on a level playing field.
How so?
Well, if you're looking at a $500,000 duplex and a $1.2 million fourplex, the cap rate instantly translates both of them into a percentage. So it shows you which one generates a stronger net return relative to its price tag.
Okay, but we shouldn't just be out there blindly hunting for the absolute highest cap rate possible, right? Because in most investments, a higher return usually correlates with higher risk.
Yes, risk and return are intrinsically linked in real estate, just like anywhere else. Different markets and even different neighborhoods within the same city dictate completely different cap rates.
Okay.
A low cap rate, say 3 or 4%, typically signals a high demand, incredibly stable premium market.
So investors are willingly accepting a lower return on their cash because they feel confident the property will stay rented.
Right. They know the neighborhood won't decline and their money is safe.
So a low cap rate is essentially you paying a premium for peace of mind. You're buying in that pristine zip code where the schools are great and everyone wants to live.
On the flip side, if you see a property boasting an 8 or 9% cap rate, it's a signal that the market perceives higher risk.
Like what kind of risk?
It might be located in an area with declining job growth or a neighborhood with higher crime rates, or it might just be a dilapidated building that requires intense hands-on management.
Ah, gotcha.
The cap rate acts as a compass, telling you what kind of terrain you're walking into. You just have to decide if you have the stomach and the skills to navigate that specific terrain.
And this brings us to the ideological split in the playbook, which is fascinating because understanding a metric like cap rate is essential, but how you intend to engage with that metric separates the amateurs from the pros.
It really does.
The author draws a massive, heavy line between hobby investing and professional investing.
Yeah, and the distinction really comes down to what you are relying on to make you wealthy. Hobbyists rely almost entirely on hope.
Hope.
Yeah, they buy a property, often influenced by aesthetics, like we talked about, and they just cross their fingers that the broader market appreciates over time to bail them out of a mediocre deal.
They hope the city builds a new park nearby.
Right. They hope inflation pushes housing prices up. They are completely passive participants.
If we use another analogy here, hobbyists are basically passengers on a train.
Oh, I like that.
They bought a ticket, they found a seat, and now they're just staring out the window, hoping the conductor is taking them to a profitable destination. If the market tanks, the train goes off a cliff, and they have no steering wheel.
Meanwhile, professionals don't ride the train. They drive the car.
Right.
They focus on engineering equity through operational improvements. They don't wait around for the market to hand them value. They force the value of the building up themselves.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because I want to push on this just a bit. The author does admit in the text that single-family rentals do have a place, and they even know clients who have built massive wealth buying regular single-family homes.
Yes, they do.
So why are they pushing multifamily so aggressively as the superior starting point? Like, why is a duplex inherently better for driving the car than a single-family house?
This raises an important question, and it really comes down to how real estate is appraised and valued.
Okay.
With a single-family home, the value of your property is largely dictated by comparable sales in your neighborhood.
The comps.
Right. You could put in the nicest kitchen in the world, but if the 3 houses next door to you sell for a steep discount because of a market dip, the appraised value of your house gets dragged down with them.
You are totally at the mercy of the residential housing market.
Exactly. But with multifamily properties, especially as you scale up, the value is increasingly tied directly to the income the building produces.
Because commercial valuation is based on a multiple of the net operating income.
Precisely. If you increase the net operating income, you mathematically increase the value of the building, regardless of what the duplex down the street sold for. You control the outcome.
So what does that actually look like in practice? How are these professionals engineering this equity?
Well, the playbook lists incredibly specific operational levers. A professional investor will look at a poorly managed building and see hidden income.
Like what?
Well, they might convert a storage closet into an app-operated laundry room that's a brand new revenue stream that didn't exist
Oh,
yesterday.
wow, okay.
Or they might realize the current landlord is paying the entire water bill for all 4 units, so they install submeters or implement a ratio utility billing system to pass those water costs back to the tenants.
And let's think about the math on that. If you bill back the water, and let's say that removes $3,000 of expenses from your balance sheet every year,
Right.
your net operating income just went up by $3,000.
Yep.
In a market where buildings trade at a 5% cap rate, adding $3,000 to the NOI increases the overall value of that building by $60,000. Exactly.
You didn't just save $3,000, you created $60,000 in equity out of thin air just by changing how the water bill is handled.
That is the superpower of multifamily investing. It is an active, aggressive strategy rather than a passive, hopeful one. You are optimizing a business.
All right, so we're convinced we want the four-wheeler to mitigate our risk. We know we need to evaluate it using the cap rate engine metric, and we know we want to be the driver of the car, forcing the value up.
Right.
But if you're listening to this and looking at your Zillow app right now, you might be wondering how you actually apply this out in the real world without losing your shirt.
And the execution is where most people stumble. The first tactical step the playbook demands is establishing a strict buy box.
A buy box. I'm guessing this isn't just a vague preference like, oh, I want a nice brick duplex in a good area. It sounds like you're building a ruthless robotic filter.
It has to be ruthless. A buy box is your exact non-negotiable criteria written down on paper.
Okay, like what? Like what specific zip codes are you willing to invest in? What is the exact unit mix? Are duplexes okay, or do you only want triplexes? What is your tolerance for renovations?
Will you do a gut rehab, or do you need it totally turnkey?
Right. What is your minimum required cap rate? What is your absolute maximum purchase price?
It basically removes the emotion before you ever step foot inside a building.
Exactly.
Because the author warns that investors lose money when they buy vague. I mean, if you've been putting offers in for 6 months and getting outbid, you get exhausted.
You get desperate.
Yeah, and the buy box stops you from suddenly compromising and buying a building in a terrible neighborhood just because it has, like, beautiful vintage hardwood floors.
Acts as an emotional guardrail. And when you finally find a property that fits squarely inside your buy box, you move to the next step, which comes with a harsh reality check.
Which is?
The listing sheet the realtor hands you is a piece of marketing collateral. It is not an accounting document.
The numbers on that flyer are usually a fantasy.
Absolute fan.
Which brings us to the author's core directive. So, what does this all mean for you, the listener? What is the ultimate takeaway here?
You must underwrite like a skeptic and buy with a margin of safety.
And we should clarify what we mean by margin here. Because in traditional finance, buying stocks on margin means borrowing money from a broker to invest, which is highly risky leverage.
Right. Totally different.
In this real estate context, buying with a margin of safety means the exact opposite. It means building a massive pessimistic buffer into your spreadsheet.
Exactly. So you're basically stress testing the investment against the worst case scenario.
How do we actually do that?
When you run the numbers, you start with conservative assumptions. You cannot assume the current tenants are going to stay forever.
Right.
You have to assume the units will sit empty for 1 or 2 months every single year, and you subtract that potential vacancy from your projected income. And crucially, you have to rigorously verify every single number the seller claims.
Right. You can't just take the seller's word for it that the downstairs unit is currently rented for $1,500.
You don't even take the signed lease at face value.
Really?
No. A professional will ask for 3 to 6 months of the seller's bank statements to prove that $1,500 actually hit the account every month.
Wow.
You want to see the deposit slips? You want to confirm exactly who owns the appliances.
And the playbook mentions budgeting for property management, which feels like a contentious point.
It is for a lot of people.
Yeah, because if I'm buying a duplex and I plan to manage it myself to save the, 8 or 10% management fee, why would I include that fee in my cap rate calculations? I'm intentionally making the deal look worse.
You include it for 2 reasons. First, your time has inherent value, and you need to account for the labor you're providing.
Okay, fair.
But more importantly, your investment plan has to survive real life.
What do you mean?
Well, what if you get a promotion at your day job and you have to move across the country? What if you have a medical emergency? What if you just get burned out and decide you absolutely despise plunging toilets at 2 a.m.?
Okay, yeah. If the only way the spreadsheet stays in the green is by you working as an unpaid janitor and leasing agent, it's not a real business.
Exactly.
It's a fragile side hustle.
If the deal only works when everything goes perfectly, it's a bad deal.
Right.
By underwriting, with that margin of safety, including a management fee, high vacancy rates, and hefty maintenance reserves, you ensure the building can sustain itself through adversity. If the numbers still look good with those conservative estimates, then you've found a winner.
And you actually implement all this during step 5 of the playbook, which is the due diligence phase.
Yes.
Which, by the way, isn't just about hiring a guy with a flashlight to see if the roof leaks.
No, not at all. The inspection uncovers the physical flaws, but the due diligence period is when you build your operational business plan. The author says if you can't articulate your plan for the building in 3 sentences, you don't actually own the deal yet.
So how are we spending those 30 days before closing? We're not just waiting around for the bank.
No, you are getting hard quotes from contractors for the renovations you plan to do. You are calling utility companies to verify historical usage.
Doing the actual legwork.
Yes. And if you are interviewing property managers, you aren't just asking what their monthly percentage fee is. A professional digs into the mechanisms.
Like what kind of mechanism?
You ask them how they handle maintenance markups. A lot of shady management companies charge an 8% flat fee, but then they tack on a 10% markup on top of every plumbing or electrical invoice they coordinate.
Oh, wow.
And that hidden markup will absolutely destroy the cap rate you just spent hours calculating.
So you're flushing out all the hidden traps before your money is locked in.
Exactly.
You decide exactly what rent increases are legally and practically viable, and you map out the timeline for implementing them. You basically treat it like a corporate acquisition.
And you define your exit strategy on day 1.
Right.
Are you holding this property for 30 years to fund your retirement with the cash flow? Are you going to fix it up, force the value higher through operational improvements, and then refinance to pull your initial capital back out?
Or do you plan to sell it in 5 years to trade up to a larger commercial complex?
Exactly. Your exit strategy dictates how you manage the asset today. It should be deliberately designed, not just improvised, when you eventually get tired of owning it.
It all circles back to the core premise. Real estate investing is not about buying the dream.
No, it's not.
It's not about the aesthetics, the trendy neighborhood vibes, or the emotional rush of owning property. It is relentlessly about the data.
Data and operations.
It's about demanding that a building proves it can perform on a spreadsheet before you ever sign the deed. It's about building a margin of safety so wide that you don't have to rely on optimism, and treating the asset like a business from the very first open house.
And shifting from a consumer mindset to an operational mindset completely changes how you interact with the world around you.
How so?
Well, if a multifamily property's true value is dictated by the efficiency of its income stream, by that raw engine efficiency, it completely reframes how you look at your own city. Think about your daily commute.
Okay.
How much hidden wealth is currently sitting locked inside poorly managed, run-down mom-and-pop duplexes just down the street?
Oh, wow. Just sitting there with under-market rents and inefficient utility setups?
Exactly. They're just waiting for someone to step in, strip away the emotion, open the hood, and run them like an actual business.
Suddenly, every slightly tired-looking fourplex you drive past isn't just an old building. It's an inefficient business waiting to be optimized.
That's the mindset.
That is a brilliant lens to look through. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Take that thought with you the next time you walk past a for sale sign. Keep stress testing the numbers and never stop looking for the data hidden behind the dream.